Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or midnight, whenever you're watching this. Because we're talking about social media today, and I know my social media people. You guys act, you're super creative. You operate at all sorts of times. So this is Arden's Chats. This is the extraordinary. Every time I dive into what Jenny Melrose is doing, I'm just like, she is a freaking genius and everyone needs to know her. This is Jenny Melrose. She teaches you how to make money online. That is the nuts and bolts of it. She's got a very much more fancy name for it, but whenever I talk about it, I'm like, she teaches you how to make money online. And right now, as we're talking, we're in North Carolina, starting to move into what I'm calling phase 2, phase 3 of COVID. But Jenny's been doing this forever. This isn't something she started out of necessity. She started it out of, she's a freaking expert. So Jenny, please introduce yourself to the people and tell them what you do.
Of course. Thank you so much, Arden. I'm excited to be here. So I, like you said, it was 11 years ago at this point. So I started online pre-Pinterest and pre-Instagram, which is pretty crazy to say because a lot of people that's our norm when it comes to social media is Instagram and Pinterest at this point. I started off with a lifestyle blog where I created quick and easy recipes and projects for busy parents. And I was able to replace a New York teaching salary, 6-figure salary, where I was then able to quit teaching, retired from teaching, and moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where we met because I originally was from New York. And from there, I started getting asked a lot about how were you able to make this into a full-time gig? How were you able to figure out ways in which to monetize that? And since doing that, I have been asked to speak in various different places. I have a new book out that really teaches women influencers and entrepreneurs how to lean into their greatness and understand how they can better monetize, whether that is their products, their services, their influence, whatever that might look like for that business owner, but how to understand ways in which you can almost passively increase your income to monetize.
Love it. And that's one thing. I have purchased some of her programs because as a PR person, right? Like I can't be in front of media all the time. And what I'm learning in COVID is you got to have all sorts of different things and different ways of working with media. So that's a PR perspective of how I was like, oh gosh, I've got to get this class with Jenny because I've got great press releases. I've got some things that I can be teaching that I need to orchestrate right now because my bread and butter is constantly in flux. I was talking to someone last night and looking at her, she's suddenly a lead anchor at a local station and she's asking me, hey girl, how do I set this up? Like, how do I set up an at-home type deal? Well, if you guys are like that, if you're trying to figure out how do I add, my core group of business is not working anymore, or doesn't work how it used to. How do I add income? And so that's a beautiful thing because you need to know how to do that. But what I'm learning, Jenny, and following your courses is there is a method to this madness and you need to know the steps. So I taught a class last night and I was going through, y'all need to get your communication straight first, but then you need to figure out how to monetize it. So when you do to go back to work, you're still making this income. I'd love for you to share them really quickly. Like your husband is a PE teacher. That's still one of my favorite stories I talk about is you took a simple thing and helped him think outside of his box. What was that story?
Yes, absolutely. And I think you've really touched on something important that although right now we're seeing our businesses stop or our in-person services stopping, that we're turning now to online, but it is something that you can continue to do. Many of the clients that I was working to prior to COVID already had this aspect set up and have been able to move into COVID and not be affected. And if anything, they've actually seen increases in their income during this time because they already have the foundation laid. So you mentioned about my husband is a PE teacher. He was told by the district that they needed to be able to teach students lessons and needed to be able to get in front of them. And as parents ourselves of 2 daughters and very overwhelmed with the whole now crisis schooling, I'm not even going to attempt to call it homeschooling because that's not what any of us are doing. It is crisis schooling. Yeah. I was very overwhelmed with all of the notifications and everything else that was coming through. And I said to him, you need to find a way in which these kids consume the content and know just to go to that channel to be able to find it. And for us, for him, what made sense was YouTube, because he was able to create this video content and easily give it access to these kids, that they could get it from their phones, their iPads, wherever it was, and it was easily accessible. And when they started first talking about this within his district, they were trying to come up with all these different ways. Oh, we'll do a Facebook group, or we'll just send them the videos. And I looked at them and said, regardless of what they decide to do, this is giving you the push to start a YouTube channel at a time when people are in dire need of this content to be able to consume it. So if you're going to do video, you're going to do it right. You're not going to do this just randomly putting stuff out there, not thinking about what people are actually searching for. And there's a method to the madness when it comes to really setting up your foundation to make sure that your audience can find you and can also continue to consume your content and engage with you. I think that's the piece that a lot of people miss when it comes to setting up these social media platforms. They don't understand, I need to be able to talk to my people. I need to make sure I'm giving them what they need and solving a problem for them. So yes.
I love that. So what do you think? One of the things that you just mentioned was foundation. If someone's watching this and they're brand new, they've got an inkling of like, I know I've got a project that I could really monetize. What's the foundation for them to start with?
Yes. So let's give I can give an example of someone recently that I've been working with. I had a nutritionist prior to COVID-19 that was in the Charlotte area that came to me and said, listen, I have an Instagram account, but my business is booming in person to the point where I need to hire people or because my time is being used up, or I need to be able to get online and figure out a way to passively be able to offer people things where it's not my time in exchange for money, which is what a lot of people will run into. So with her, it was about getting first that audience and knowing what they were looking for and what they needed. So she started on Instagram. That was just a platform she'd been using for herself, for her own personal. She would talk about nutrition information every once in a while and kind of integrate it as part of it. But one of the things that she was great at was her Instagram stories, because Instagram stories provides you with that opportunity to ask questions, get people to tell you what it is they need, the struggles that they have, so that you can better create content that's going to hit on those issues. So if she asked them whether they were suffering with wanting to feel comfortable in the bathing suit for the summer, and what that looked like, as far as maybe it had something to do with intuitive eating or whatever it might look like, she could then take steps back and say, okay, if I were to put together a course or material in which it could step by step walk you through how to better have intuitive eating, what would that look like for you? What would you need? What are the questions that you would have? And she asked these questions on Instagram stories because now her audience was able to help her build the content that she wanted to create. So the first place you want to start is understanding your audience wherever that might be. Now this example is Instagram stories because she's under 35 and that's her audience. So that's where those people are. For some of you, your audience might be on Facebook, and Facebook groups can work really well for this. So it really depends upon where you're comfortable and where are your people comfortable and where are they going to be able to interact and engage with you when you start to try to figure out which platform to really start to engage and talk to them to figure this out.
I love it. And so one thing I get, and I'm curious about this, is there a magic number of followers that you need before you start asking these questions?
No, you're better off asking these questions from day one. And a lot of the times when it comes to your social media, you have to, from the very beginning, have a call to action. And we hear that all the time, and like all of the gurus talk about calls to action, but all that simply is tell me what you think. Give them a way in which to interact with you. So if you're going to put up a post on your feed and you're going to talk about this cute new outfit, or you're talking about a new fitness line that you're using, whatever it might be, you're going to then say in that post that you've put together, in the comments, show me your favorite emoji and I can send you the information about this equipment, the outfit, whatever it is. Because what happens is when they actually put some form of engagement, it helps the algorithm, and now you can interact with them again in the comments. As Instagram sees them actually putting something into the comments and then you replying up with that, it is going to boost it to more people to actually get seen. So always having a call to action, whether it's on your Instagram feed or if it's an Instagram stories. You can't simply just talk to people or just tell them about your day. Like, have a purpose for why you're telling them about something. Where are you trying to go with this? And it should be about trying to get in more information about what they need from them. So using polls are a great way to do this because it's simple and easy for them to have a choice when it comes to the polls feature in Instagram stories. And then from there, following up in DMs about the choices that you gave. So I can actually give an example of this. I recently asked my audience, do you want to know more about growing your audience or do you want to learn more about selling? And it was a resounding wanting to learn more about selling. So I could see that. And all I did is the ones that hit the selling button, I then went into the direct messages and sent them each a reply saying, hey, what is it about selling that you want to learn? Are you uncomfortable? Do you just not know how to close? Like, what are you talking about? Now, some of them, I knew what their business was, so I could kind of lean into it a bit more because I already have these types of relationships with people because I've been engaging for a long time on Instagram stories. But the information that from that next question that I asked in DMs is what gave me the next content for the next month of what I'm going to be putting into my membership site.
I love that. So this is going to be the next question, people watching this, because I've got a few people I'm actually going to send this to, because who have been asking me like, how do I do it? How do I grow it? I'm like, just going to send this to them and link back to you. But the biggest question, the social media, Facebook's, Instagram, whatever it is, I get is how much time do I have to spend on it? I get sucked into it, blah, 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 blah. So it sounds like you do spend a good amount of time on it. How do you keep from getting sucked into the void that can be social media? So 2 questions, really.
Yeah, no, and I think they're really valid questions because although it may sound like I spend a ton of time, I might spend 30 minutes a day at the most. And it's actually broken up. It's not like I'm going to go into Instagram and I'm going to sit there and go down that rabbit hole. And if I am doing that, it's not with the intention of business. It's the intention of being a person and just being someone that wants to look at social media and see what my girlfriends are doing or seeing what's going on. So if it's the intention of going in with business, I set it up in my mind. My day, even with all this craziness of crisis schooling children, I still have a schedule that I have an idea of when I'm going to go in and look at Instagram. Where am I going to interact? Where am I going to be asking these types of questions? So I will normally do it like starting my day in the morning for 15 minutes, and then I'll do it again in the afternoon for 15 minutes. And then if I'm in front of the TV being a person, if I get a direct message from someone, I will always answer it that way so that I can kind of get that information.
Yeah, I like that. And I generally tell people about 30 minutes a day and break it up because it is about being social. Every social media person will tell you that it's about being social without being a troll, there's all sorts of different things. Okay, so here's my next question for you. The other thing I think you're so good at is teaching people how to monetize blogs. And not the blogs of 2008 or whatever, when most of us were just like pouring out information and making it an open diary. Blogs today are very different. They're so good. For people like me, I partner with a lot of blogs for like in between for my clients. And I'd love to hear, hey, I need a great Mother's Day gift. Send me the right Mother's Day gift. We'll cross promote or whatever it is. How do you get to be that blog person that gets things sent to you and gets to partner with people like me who are just the go-between? How do I get there?
Yes. So that really, again, comes down to engagement. brands or business owners want to see that you know your people. They're not interested, or at least they shouldn't be interested in your numbers. They should be interested in the people behind those numbers. Is it the audience that they're trying to hit? Is it the audience that's actually going to purchase something? Whether you're thinking yourself as an influencer using Instagram with Like to Know It, or if you're actually working in a partnership with a national brand where you're creating sponsored content with a blog post that goes along with it, that you're getting paid $1,500 just for the blog post. That really, the signs when that happens is you know your people. You can say, this is who they are, this is what they're coming to me for, and this is what I can deliver to you. They are going to obviously ask for your numbers, because that's how the wild, wild west is determined as far as pricing. And it kind of shifts and changes, obviously, with the different crazy things that go on. But they're really concerned about your audience. And what I actually teach is I teach influencers to reach out to those brands that they know, use, and love, and show how their audience is the perfect fit. Because I see a lot of people using their Instagram accounts because they have 20,000 followers and doing Like to Know It, where they're going to make 20 cents off of a $20 sweater. And that's how they're monetizing. And that's the extent of it. And when you're doing that, I mean, I understand that there's certain, of course, fashion standards that when you're a fashion influencer, but at the same time, it has to be about engagement. Is what you're showing what everyone else is showing? Or do you have a message behind what you're sharing? We actually had this conversation in one of my mastermind groups recently, and we went through and we were looking at some fashion influencers, and I looked at them and said, they all look the same. They're cute little 20-somethings that are stick skinny. And yes, and whether there was just no diversity. And you could tell also that in their content, it was the same idea. Oh, we're going out with my girlfriends for a girls' night. And that was the extent of how much they let people into their lives.
Right.
They didn't talk about maybe where they came from or what their beliefs were. And that is what sets people apart. That piece of really showing how you're different and having your unique voice is what sets you apart, because it's your positioning. You know all about that.
I love it. I love it. And if you ever come across someone who is a fashion blogger who's 5'11" and is not a size 2, I am a solid size 6 or 8. And I work very hard to be a solid size 6 or 8, which I think I look great for being 41 or whatever it is. But it's true. I love cute clothes, but I am not a stick. And I think there's this element of you teaching people how to be different. Because what I keep saying is, it's what makes you different that truly builds your audience. And I love how you have this ability to pull that out of people, connect them. And you're a teacher, right? Like we were talking about that earlier. What makes you so good at it is you're a professionally trained teacher. So a lot of times I always work with people who have an extra specialty. I have a candle company or a luxury brand that she's a trained social worker. So she knows how to manifest. You're a trained teacher. So you know how to take these things step by step and go, here's the research behind it. Here's the methodology. And here are the steps you need to take. Like whenever I take one of your videos, I'm like, oh, okay, let me pause it. Let me go. You've actually made, you don't even know this, but you've made my teaching better, because I'm like, oh, okay, pause it. Here's how I learn along the way, right? So how can people work with you? Are there, I know there's different levels, but if I'm fairly new to this, I'm starting to get my stimulus check or whatever it is, I keep telling people, please spend your stimulus check on, especially if you're an entrepreneur, on pouring into you. Like I bought a database that I've been wanting forever and just really needed the database, and I poured it into it. I'm also buying classes. What are great ways for them, people watching right now that I'm specifically sending this to as well? What's a good baseline? Where's a good place for them to start working with you?
Honestly, the best first place to start is my new book, Influencer Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It really takes the theories that we kind of touched on surface level today and goes
Mhm.
in even deeper. It gives you this 4-step framework, which is entitled PAC, which is P for positioning, A for authenticity, C for confidence, and K for kindness. And it takes this
Mm.
4-step framework and walks you through it by giving you stories and how I've been able to implement it with other clients. But at the same time, there's homework, there's exercises at the
Okay.
end of each of the sections. So now you can take it and put it into practice.
Yeah.
That is honestly the easiest and simplest way to be able to just get started with this. And then I offer all different courses and levels of things based on what are you trying to figure out? Are you trying to launch a product or service? Or are you trying to be able to work on sponsored content with national brands? And
Yeah.
I have digital courses that step by step hold your hand and walk you through those things.
Oh, I love that. It's so good, y'all. I really am like, and I am not one of these people that I love learning, but I don't like doing it on my own, which is what COVID has taught me is sometimes you can't go to a class anymore, right? Like I can't gather in my groups. I've got to figure it out. And I've been very timid to purchase some classes because I know I'm a very group learning type person, but yours really have made it easy. I can do it at my own pace. And I also like look forward to doing it, which that's not been the case with other people. Like I've bought some classes and I'm like, you are so, literally, I couldn't even finish it. I was like, they're so boring that, and I will. Like, I think you guys should go as much as you can, watch her podcast, go and learn because as a teacher, I'm a product of a teacher. The best ones engage you. They know how to pull you in. And every time I watch something from you, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I don't feel talked down to. I mean, this is not a paid endorsement or anything. This is just a true, and if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it. I just wouldn't. But I love what you're doing. I love how you're just genius. And I definitely want people to go get the book. I bought it months ago. So it'll be in my hands March 1st or May 1st. God, I bought it in March. And so I'm like, I keep looking. I'm like, what flipping day is it? I know I bought it in March. So
yes, May 1st it comes out. And it's jennymelrose.com/book is where you can actually grab it. And we did a free workbook that actually goes along with the book. And when you go there, you'll see it right there next to each other on that website. So you can actually do the exercises along with the information that you're getting from the book.
So that's from your site. Okay.
Yes. And one of the things I wanted to actually touch on, and I think that what you said was so important, is that first of all, I appreciate you saying that about the course because that is really important to me, being that former teacher, that I hope that does come through. But the other piece is if you are thinking of buying a course or working with someone, one of the best things I can recommend is make sure you listen to them do something, whether it's a free webinar, whether it is a podcast. And I would really recommend do something that doesn't have a pitch on it necessarily. So a webinar is great sometimes, but they also are giving, like they put in a lot of work to make sure they can sell you at the end of that webinar. So listen to their podcast, make sure that the way that they talk is the way that you can learn, because I've heard from so many different clients, oh my God, I took this course, it was terrible. You should know that ahead of time.
Yeah, you really should. And that's why those of us who are trying to get into it, like I am a great writer. So I'm trying to watch people on video to make sure. That's why I'm doing Arden's chats is I want you guys to know there is no pitch in this. I have gotten some business out of it just because you guys have been able to see my personality, but really this is just about, hey, I know cool people. I want to be able to interview them. And I know people are audio learners and visual learners. So if I can tie the two together, I am providing a great benefit to the world out there. And I think that's really true is I have been on your podcast. I watch your podcast. I listened. And another thing I will say is listen to how people talk about them. So you've got great quotes on your website, but when I just fished through your group, the cool things they said about your program, I was like, all right, this is something I can share and can continue to build. And that's how you know, right? Like I try to push people all the time. Do not talk to just people who look like you. And the best people can talk to anyone, and especially if they have a degree behind their name of some sort. If they're teaching and they've got a teaching degree, that is a plus. If they're talking about manifestation, I just think it's what you do is so rare, and it's so cool, and I'm so appreciative of it because I'm learning a lot from it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can't wait for the book. I've had it in my queue forever, so it'll get here eventually.
Yes.
I know I'm like, guys, with delayed delivery, it'll get to you. Just go ahead and buy it now. So thank you so much. How can people find you? One more time.
Yes. If you go to jennymelrose.com, you can also always interact and engage. Ask me any questions in Instagram. It's at Jenny_Melrose. And the podcast is also Influencer Entrepreneurs, same title as the book. So I would so love to get to know you guys better.
Yeah. And you can search. I was on there this morning, by the way. I was searching I needed to show off your Instagram stuff. And you can hit on her top words and it will show you, okay, here's the Instagram stuff, here's the Facebook stuff, whatever it is. So that is helpful too. All the things you learn when you're like studying people. So, all right, guys, I am such a studier. I will always study, and my top strength, if you've ever done Strength Finders, is input. So as you know, I will ask you questions all the time. I'm like, just learning. I'm very curious. So, all right, guys.
I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Her information will be in the show notes. And this was great. I appreciate it. So bye, guys.